that. I have a question. So back to our topic between creative writing skills and STEM education and careers. What is the state of writers in the BIPOC community? And we need to add another underrepresented group of women. What is the state of our writers within our community?
So as you may know, this is our second conversation. And I know that you probably have gotten to know that I come from a position always of opportunity and optimism. What's possible? Because we know our limits. People are always throwing those in our face. We know what they are. We run into them even if it's not intentional, from systemic racism. We run into the challenges every day as Black, Indigenous people of color. We run into those. So I try to always present from a place of optimism. And I believe that's where we're at now. I think we're at a literal intersection of opportunity, choice. If you choose opportunity, I promise you it's out there. Okay. I believe it. And I believe that we're in a time such as this. To be alive in a time such as this, it means you can create your own. You can partner with another person from your background, from across the globe. You couldn't do that before the internet. We would have had to meet in person. If you're a person who grew up in the 80s, you would have had to meet in person. So I think the state for us as writers and as creative people, as creative thinkers, is to be willing to expand, be willing to explore, be willing to trust outside of your neighborhood, outside of your block, outside of the streets you grew up on. And you will find, I believe our state is one of opportunity, growth, expansion, if you're willing to adapt. And there are just so many opportunities for writers. I really believe that. I really believe that.
So you did mention willing to look outside your community in order to connect. And technology has made it really much easier to do that. Cool. Is that the reasons why you reach out internationally? For example, I noticed that you have a new website, and that website is fantastic.
Thank you.
It is fantastic. It is called writingandtechnology.com. Let me try to put it up so that everyone can see it. It is fantastic. I love the clarity of the web.
Thank you so much for saying that. That really brings me joy that you felt that it had clarity, because that is the goal, is that it be crystal clear.
Yeah. I like that. I like the welcoming page. It tells you exactly what your purpose, what your mission is. We're dedicated to making information and technology accessible to everyone. And also with the understanding that technology is all around us. But it is interesting that you said one of your mission is, or your goal is, trying to help people understand how it works, especially people with no technical background. Many people may have access to the cell phone, but doesn't mean that they really know how to utilize this technology effectively, especially in terms of their business and even in education, right? Our students may have access to a lot of cell phones or games, but doesn't mean that they know how to utilize it or access this appropriately in order to prepare them for a career. Our world, every job that we know is hooked to technology. Now, also, I noticed that you're adding Chat GPT into this mix.
I love Chat GPT.
And your main focus right now is Africa, correct? Am I correct or am I wrong?
Yes, I have two kind of, it's a focus outside of the U.S. marketplace.
Okay.
Africa is everything I do. Like I said, it's connected to Africa. Okay. And in between there, I have a partner. Okay. She has moved from the United States from Texas to Grenada.
Okay.
And as there are a lot of expats and transplants in Africa that are also from the States, right?
Yeah.
Now what you're looking at, that site, let me say this before I move forward, let me get it up so people can understand the idea. because that's one thing that especially these young people going into the marketplace should understand.
Yes.
You can talk all day. You can talk all day. That's great. It's in your head. And I
Yeah.
like your idea. But if you show me something,
Right.
make an investment to show me something. Is there a package you're going to mail me? Is there a synopsis you're going to email me? Or is
Right.
there a website you can send me to? And social media doesn't always count because it takes 2 seconds to create a social media account and it's still just your idea. It's just you, right?
Wow.
It's great once you have something, but this was my way of drawing people into the idea. And I didn't have to tell you about it. You found it because I put it out there.
Yeah.
So it represents my body of work as a digital publisher, that this is just one of the things that we're going to do. We have 3 other sites behind this one that are totally different, where you can talk about the more passionate subjects like religion, your stance on religion, socioeconomic challenges, so many other topics.
Wow.
So this right here, actually, our managing editor, David Hyacinth, he's in Nigeria.
Okay.
And one of our writers, I'm so excited about her, and is coming on board.
Right.
Her name is Lynn Gatau, and she's in Nairobi, Kenya.
Okay.
That site, the executive team is going to represent Africa. That's so cool to me. And so obviously we're going to talk about what are the challenges.
Yes.
You may have technology is overwhelming. Everything on there could be overwhelming. So my non-techie background of being in law enforcement, we didn't need technology to get along. You could operate a jail with no lights, no computers. And we've had to do it. That business is not going to fall down because of technology. Law enforcement will not fall down. So if I can learn it and I can communicate it to you and I can tell you how to use Chat GPT, anybody can.
Wow. Excellent. So as a founder of digital publishing platform, what inspired you to create a space for writers to showcase their work and connect with readers in the digital age? What really inspired you? I know you touched upon when, as a child, you've started writing as a child. Can you elaborate on that, please, if you don't mind?
Sure. I look back now and I probably had in the 80s undiagnosed ADHD. My daughter always points it out. I'm all over the place. Maybe some undiagnosed anxiety or depression, but that's reflecting back. And Black Americans in probably even the 60s, 70s, and the 80s, during the time I was growing up in the 80s, you didn't go to your mom and say, I feel depressed. You might not have even recognized it yourself. So my mom is tough. My mom is a retired correctional officer. So she's a tough cookie. And I followed in her footsteps into law enforcement. And I imagine, I tell her this and we joke about it. If I had said, Mom, I'm depressed, she'd have said, girl, go to work. If you get that check, you won't be depressed. That's how she talks. So I told her that. I told her I was going to tell that story and she laughed. She said, that's right. That's what she said. I thought she might feel bad. She don't feel bad.
Our mothers are tough cookies.
They're self-made and they're proud of it. They're not ashamed to say, yeah, go make your money. Go make something of yourself. That'll cure your depression. But as we know, money doesn't fix that. You could still be anxious and have panic attacks. And fast forward to the place where I was trying to make a living as a writer. Before I left in 2020 permanently, where I said, I will not go back into this career. I'll talk about it and help others who are in stressful careers, because jails and hospitals are very stressful places to work. And so I used writing as a way out, because if your mind is out, you're physically maybe not there. I used it as a way to cope. And I thought, if I can help others do that and turn it into cash flow, then I would be helping in that space of mental health, knowing that I had my own share of the mental health challenges and they went unchecked. So I imagine, and I say this with so much humility, if I had during those years met myself who I am now, confident and humble and blessed and so grateful, so thankful, imagine maybe I would have been mentally healthier 10 years ago or 20 years ago, or even as a child. And so I'm looking to be that person for my younger version of myself, whether you're 15, 18, 20, 30, 40, 50-year-old trying to get out there and flex your creativity and your to leave the job. So I feel like I'm still walking in every version of myself. I remember my 18-year-old self like it was yesterday. I remember my struggles as I was entering the world and knowing I wasn't going to be going to college.
Yeah.
And I started a publication then. I cut and paste the words because I didn't have the printer, and I went and copied it. The copy store, and I handed it out to people.
Wow.
I thought it was powerful. I look back now and I go, what was I thinking? Where was it?
Right.
I had the
Technology now is
confidence to
making it
think
much
it
easier.
was.
I did catch that last point that you made.
Oh, I was saying, I was wondering now, I look back and I say, what was I thinking that I cut and paste a newsletter together
Right.
and then had the confidence to go into the store, copy the pages, staple them together,
Right.
and go hand it to businesses and ask them to advertise in my newsletter. I was maybe naive. I don't
Right.
know.
But
But
shy.
confidence in that. I
Right.
wasn't shy about it. I was
Okay.
so proud of the words and the
Right.
message.
Right.
I
Right.
look back now and I go, what was I thinking? That looked like crap. But I didn't know. I didn't
Right.
know an 18-year-old self.
So I can see that now, based on those experience, you just want to mentor, create a space for a younger generation, at least to be able to have the space and the knowledge to be not only write their creative writing, but at the same time, market and monetize creative work. So that is really good. And that's what we all should be doing. We have a lot as adults to give
Right.
back. And I'm
Yes.
so proud of what you're doing within
Thank
our
you.
communities. What's the connection between creative skills and STEM education and career?
Sure. So one of the things we talk about collaboration a lot, right? And a lot of
Yes.
times when we talk about collaboration, people think I am collaborating with you. My company is collaborating with your company, or my school is collaborating with your school. But when I'm referring to it here in this instance, it's interdisciplinary collaboration.
Hmm.
So it's taking your effective communication, which
Yes.
a lot of times is just pen to paper.
Hmm.
A person that is introverted might find, like I do, I literally appreciate the way a pen flows across the page. It gives me some type of satisfaction to
Yes.
feel going across the page. I didn't know that as a young person,
Hmm.
why I would prefer to grab a notebook and paper, right? So you take effective communication plus critical thinking. It's like an equation, and it equals your ability to use your creative writing and your thinking as a
Yes.
critical thinker, and sometimes create a collaboration between the disciplines, between creative writing and science, creative writing and technology.
Hmm.
See, creative writing and critical thinking with engineering or
Hmm.
mathematics. As an example for myself and my specific background, and if a person were listening and they're saying, she might be onto something, but they're quite not sure. How do you make that leap? So let's take mine in law enforcement. You're in a jail, but you're a creative writer and you're very skilled at storytelling. That's like your skill set. How to write and how to draw words together and tell a story. They ran into an issue. We had a lawsuit,
Hmm.
and the sheriff was saying he had to get on when you see something bad happen. You'll see a sheriff or a chief of police get on television. There's a media outlet, and he's saying, this is not our intent. We're going to do better. And then he makes a promise. So it never
Yes.
happens again. He
Hmm.
made a promise to better train his officers that this particular situation will never happen again. And I said, ding, ding. What happened was the way the officer wrote the report. It
Hmm.
wasn't the actual situation.
Hmm.
The lawyer chewed his report up in court. And we literally, and the sheriff said this, he said, I apologize that we actually sounded ignorant because of the report. It did not reflect the situation.
Wow.
It did not reflect what happened.
Hmm.
And I raised my hand and asked him, could I have a meeting with him? And I had to shake off my nerves because now as a 24-year-old, I had
Yeah.
started at 22, 24, 25-year-old, I'm going into the sheriff saying, I have a skill set that could work for you.
Yeah.
I'm a creative writer.
Yeah.
And how about if I take all of the officers and teach them how to write better?
Awesome.
it opens up an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
That is interdisciplinary collaboration. I'm
Yeah.
saying, I'm good at this, and I
Yes.
don't want us to be embarrassed anymore either. What if
Right.
we, and that leads to so many opportunities, but it takes so much confidence to walk through the door to say to Dr. Ayo, the PhD, the sheriff, the chief of police, these titles sometimes have us thinking just a writer. You're
Yeah.
not just anything. You are this thing. You throw
Yeah.
just out. You throw that word out because it minimizes you.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
a critical thinker. You're
Yeah.
a creative writer, and you can collaborate within your interest for STEM and
Yeah.
STEAM. That art has to be in STEM.
Yeah.
You have to put art back in there. That we never should have took it out. I don't know how it became STEM instead of STEAM.
I'm so glad that you mentioned making it instead of step, because that's something that we need to move away from, right?
Mhm.
And writing actually is one of those fields that actually introduce that arts into that theme. Uh,
Yes.
because I know, and I love the analogy, the experience that you share, being a with the knowledge, a background in law enforcement, having the courage of raising your hand and making yourself available to your
Mhm.
sheriff to say, I have a skill that I feel that our department could really benefit from. Because as we've just discovered, we really got embarrassed at the courts because the report
Right.
was not written very effectively. But
Mhm.
imagine if all these law enforcement officers take a class, a course, or maybe you give them a professional development on
Mhm.
how to write
Mhm.
effectively.
Mhm.
Now, presenting the information in a way that is logical, that makes sense, can save the department a lot of embarrassment. So
Yeah.
I love that experience that you share with us. And I love the interdisciplinary connection. So a student who is in, let's say, a science class, who is maybe shy, this can be a way to encourage my students. Not every student have the same talents.
Very
Now,
true.
now, a student may be like you who love to write. So let that student be the one that writes the lab report, right?
Mhm.
I
That's
love
such a
everything.
valid
Yeah, go
That's
ahead.
such a good point. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I used to struggle in high school. It's funny you'd mention that. I struggled in lab.
Okay.
I struggled in actual lab, like in biology class.
Yes.
I struggled in lab because of the chemical part of it, the component part of the actual doing the work, the writing, the studying, the passing the tests. I had the knowledge part down. I mean, I
Yeah.
passed class,
Right.
so I could understand it. I could process it, but the lab,
Yeah.
I dreaded lab. I didn't want to pour things together.
Right.
I didn't want to measure things. And I'm just like, I was
Right.
always little. So I always worked with people who were like overly confident. Like,
Right.
can I be a part of your group? And they loved it. So now I don't have to pour anything. I don't have to
Right.
worry about that's just not my area. And I was never confident with that. And I really truly believe that I passed lab for that reason. I don't remember pouring not one vial into the other vial. I literally always standing by somebody who loved to do that part.
No.
And I'm just making the notes and I'm like, what's the results again? Okay. Oh, okay.
So STEM education is becoming playing a pivotal role in our community,
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
our country right now. So how do you see creative writing playing a role in STEM field? We just started talking about writing lab reports. What benefits does it bring, or will it bring, to STEM-oriented industry? Because
Sure.
we do need to find a way to encourage our young people who are writers within our community. Those skills can actually be really relevant in
Yeah.
the STEM field. Please, what's your
Now,
thought?
now, I believe that if you have a love for writing just naturally, you may not even know it at a young age. I don't know if I knew, I don't know if I was very aware in my youthfulness that I was loving writing.
Okay.
I was surviving. That's what I was doing. I was surviving. I would just write in journals. I'd write when I was upset. I would write when I was happy. I was literally journaling through my life. but it was a release of stress.
Yes.
It was a release of joy. It was the emotions because I didn't talk a lot. You would never know now that I didn't talk a lot. Then my talking was through my writing. I was pretty quiet. I was timid. And so I didn't say a lot. And I was a people pleaser and I thought my ideas weird. So I was like, I don't want them to not like me. I wanted people to like me. So I keep my ideas to myself. So I think in saying that, if a person, a young person, let's say a person going to college.
Yes.
Let's go there because we have two categories that I always talk about, right? Because my audience is usually the person who cannot or will not go to college when we're talking about young people, because that was me. I didn't go right to college. I had to go back as an adult. Right?
I get it. I get
Let's talk about the youth that's about to graduate, knows they're going to college and they have a STEM field that they've selected and they're going to be a creative writer. That's what we're talking about. How do they work it? How do they work it in?
Yes.
I think that when they're in their science or technology space, they have to be open and creative and looking and smart and innovative. Where's the opportunity for this? Because you can't just say, oh, in science, you'll be able to use your creative writing this way. There's no way to quantify that. I can't justify it because where are you going in science? Will you be working in, like we have Lawrence Livermore labs here. Will you be a lab researcher? Will you be in a position that actually doesn't even require a degree? Some people get in that way and then they get to use their degree later. You know, the fields where you have to grow, they don't even bring you in at this level. They bring you in here just because you're new.
Entry.
In math, my son, very artistic, artistic genius, he's been called, right?
Wow.
To our great pride. We're like, wow. And people always see that. He struggled in high school because of the standards.
Okay.
The standards say you have to take blah, 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 blah. You have to pass with this number that he struggled.
Yeah.
And I remember writing an article, I was so discouraged. And the article was that the school system and the standards are not for artistic children. They had taken out art. They were taking out music. He's a musician. He's an artist, right?
Wow.
His geometry teacher was a former artist. And she pulled me aside and she said, I recognize something in your son. He had a tick. He was always moving. Ticking was. It was almost irritating. And a fifth grade teacher noticed it, and then his geometry teacher noticed it. She said, if you continue to feed his musical side, he's trying to work it out. There's numbers going on in his head. He's trying to work it out. He's working out the music and the numbers. He's very smart, but math ain't his subject.
Yeah.
So she allowed him to sing for his final.
Wow.
He wrote the music. We still have it to this day. We got the sheet where you can write the music.
Yeah.
He wrote the music. He put the numbers on the bottom, what it represents to anybody who writes music. They know there are numbers that go with those notes. There are chords. He plays piano. He plays drums. He plays guitar. So he wrote the music. They thought he was going to sing it. His dad and went to the class. And then one of our other family members wanted to go to, she said we could stand in the back because it was a performance, one of his first. And he busted out with a rap to everybody's shock. We were like, oh, nothing offensive, but as rappers, kids.
Wow.
But the lyrics and the beats and the music that he was performing along with it was magnificent. He passed his final with it, and she had him do it for a couple of other classes.
Wow.
That's how incredible it was. And she said, whatever you have in you, and I picked that up. I got that from her. Whatever you have in you, whatever your gift is, if you don't suppress it, if you don't hide it, like I did, afraid to speak up, you can work that into whatever STEM career you have. If we're talking about writing, then let it be writing. If we're talking about music, then let it be music. There is a place for it, but it's your responsibility to be true to yourself, to find it.
I am really pleased that his geometry teacher and his fifth grade teacher, I think fifth grade you said, right?
Yes, fifth grade. She was the first one, and we bought him a set of drums at that time.
Wow. I'm glad they recognized. I'm glad they
It's amazing. That tick I told you about.
Yeah.
He doesn't tick anymore. He
Wow.
doesn't do this anymore. If he's
Okay.
doing this, if you see him across the room and he's doing anything like this, something is really wrong. Haven't seen it in years.
Yes. Wow.
Haven't
Wow.
seen it in years because he's
Wow.
working out from his creative side. He's writing,
Right.
he's giving music, he's singing. So if you work it out, don't suppress the creativity just because you're going towards STEM and they seem disconnected. They are not. It is an interdisciplinary collaboration within yourself
Okay.
to work between STEM, which is really STEAM. Your creative writing comes in that A.
Okay. Okay. So since you're saying that, I want to ask you, I really want to build on this. In your experience, how can educators and parents encourage creativity in children's, especially in terms of, it doesn't have to be in terms of writing, right?
Mhm.
But to explore and showcase their talents, their creativity, innovative way. So I'm glad that you're using your son as an experience, being autistic, right? But you recognized it. A couple of teachers in elementary school, the geometry teacher and
Mhm.
his fifth grade teacher recognized it. But there are parents out there and even educators that actually are struggling, literally. So,
Yes.
what advice will you give? Because you're right, we don't want any child to suppress their talents, their God given talents. We've seen it so many times when these have been hindered by parents, by because of lack of understanding, by
Mhm.
teachers because of lack of understanding.
It's
So,
true.
what advice, based on your experience, can you give parents? Because you've gone through that experience and it has worked
Mhm.
for your child. Because, as you said, the ticking thing doesn't, it's not an issue.
No, and I really appreciate this topic because I take no credit
Mhm.
as his mother, as a parent, in recognizing what he needed. I have to humbly say that. And I encourage other parents, especially mothers, and I say this for a reason. When we have carried this child or we have nurtured this child maternally, we have this thing that's connected to this child that makes us feel the need to just we feel like we're supposed to know everything about them. I don't know why we put that pressure on ourselves,
Mhm.
mothers. We don't know everything. You can't know everything. You are the vessel. God made you the vessel for this beautiful soul. And if you had anything at all to do with their brilliance, then count it a blessing because it's really just from their creator, which was it. But that's a spiritual side of it. But
Yeah.
we can't know everything. And sometimes we have pride as parents to not say we don't know. So we drop that. You drop that pride and you have to be able to say, I don't know.
Mm.
When that first teacher approached and said she wanted to talk to us, we thought, oh boy, he's in trouble again. No problem. So we thought he's in trouble again. Early in school, that first grade, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, I was like, we're going to be at school forever. We had to keep going to the school because we keep
Mm.
getting calls, not knowing he was trying to wear something on his head. They just like, he's so loud and he's always disrupting the class. He had
Mhm.
that tick. I didn't know what it was. Thank God for the teacher who recognized it. She said he's trying to work something out. And I think it's music. They feed his music. And some of our family thought we were crazy to buy him that drum set because it's about to get loud. We didn't put him in the garage. We let him put the drum set right in the living room and fired the choir director. The choir had, at the time, the church I went to, the choir had a drummer who was
Yeah.
fabulous and he had his own kids and he
Mm.
never talked to anyone. And so I exposed an opportunity to him and he started running actually like a little drumming school. My kid was the first one that he ever, I said, have you ever trained anybody? He said, no. I was like, can we figure out a compensation and you can show my kid how to play some drums? Cause he's got a new drum set and he's like, oh, I'll try. And now he teaches kids. Mine was his first. So that was one thing as a parent, we humble ourselves to say, I don't know what to do.
Mm.
They don't come with a book.
Yeah.
So it's okay to say, I don't know what to do. I may need some help. What better person to work with than a teacher who's open to paying attention to your kid and saying, this child has something going on. And I think it might be this. Are you open to trying this approach? So the teacher was open to suggesting something because as a parent, we were open to, as parents, we were open to receive And that's really important. Some of us get real prideful. Won't you tell me nothing about my kids? And then some of us are just like, you don't know what you're talking about as parents and teachers.
Mhm.
I think we have to have a collaborative approach to each other, period. Educators, teachers, parents, all of us need to be patient and show each other a little bit of grace, right?
Yeah.
Because kids, as they're growing, we're going to have some behavioral issues, which my son had. But as soon as we said that music, man, he became this perfectly behaved student.
Yeah. Yeah.
It literally was the solution. I wouldn't have known it.
Mhm.
I didn't know that's what it was. I was just like, oh, my kid has this tick. Some kids have little things that they do, but you don't know why. He
Yeah.
had that tick. And so that worked it out. That was one thing. It's humbling myself to listening, his dad humbling himself to listening, and the teacher being willing to say what she said as well.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's one part of it. On the other side of it, I have a polar opposite daughter.
Mhm.
So, although she's artistic, she doesn't feed her artistic side in a way that she wants to make a career out of.
Okay.
She's in her 4th year of college right now.
Okay.
She's a senior in college.
Congratulations.
Yes. And
Good.
so we're excited. She'll graduate in May of next year.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I
I'm
would
so
love.
excited. I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm getting a degree. Like I feel like it's just, and it's yours. I keep telling her that, and she's, yeah, no, Mom, this one's mine. To speak on a whole nother level of encouraging the creativity in children, she has watched this creative thing in me and in her older brother, right?
Yes.
And she's like, yeah, I don't want to feed this part of myself. She's a brilliant artist. However, it's just like a hobby.
Okay.
She uses it as a hobby. It's a stress relief. One of the reasons she said she doesn't want to dive into it, and young people should listen to this, because my son is full-time artist, work for himself. That's what he's doing. So I
Right.
know what that looks like.
Nice.
I was the same and I am now. My daughter says, I don't want to have that type of life where I'm not sure where the money may come from, where I have to sell
Yeah.
my art or have a performance or sell books. I need that guaranteed paycheck salary.
Right.
I
Right.
want to work for someone else and this will be my outlet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she's chosen that. And that's important to be able to embrace that as well. You have to embrace the one who says, I don't know, this college thing. I barely got through high school. I
Yeah.
don't think that's my thing. I'm gonna go make a life out of the creativity side. And then have the other one who's saying, nah, we're doing full boat. We're doing college. We're gonna do the
Yeah.
bachelor's, the master's. I'm gonna go this route.
Right.
So I think we have to be open that they're so different.
Mhm.
And on the same page with my daughter, once my son, we worked it out with the musical side, the artistic side, he became a student that was not troubling the teachers anymore behaviorally.
Mhm.
Going to my daughter, very smart and very fast.
Hmm.
She'll finish her math test fast. She'll finish the science test fast. She's really quick.
Yeah.
Don't know
Yeah.
where that came from because she didn't get that from me. But
Are you sure?
yeah, so she's the type of student that will challenge the teacher.
Mhm.
You see, so she's done and she's standing in front of the teacher as one of the first students done holding the test. What's next?
Hmm.
And in my opinion, it's disrespectful. Sit down and wait. She's like, but I'm done. So they tried to advance her. And we declined that because I have a sister who advanced and went to college at 16.
Okay.
Very stressful.
Mhm.
So I said, no, we're not advancing her. Keep her where she's at. And they ended up after like 5th grade, 6th grade, maybe 7th, she became the teacher's aide because they were just like, this little girl's going to drive us crazy. Just make her a teacher's assistant.
Right.
Give her something to do. She
Yeah.
always needs something to do. She is a multidisciplinary person. She has her phone, her tablet, her laptop, has a TV on the radio. I'm like, why is there so much noise? She constantly has to be stimulated.
Hmm.
That's something about this generation that I'm still getting to know. The constant stimulation of all this technology,
Yeah.
that's different. I
Hmm.
think as parents and as educators, we should pay attention to that. We got to get them off of this technology. We're
Okay.
nature people. We're sun babies. Make sure to get out of the house, walking your dog, or get into the park. We love the beach.
Yeah.
I think we need to pay attention to that because I watch one of my other family members. I watch this young man. He's like now going on 23 or 4.
Mhm.
And he can sit, if nature didn't call, if he didn't have to eat or go to the bathroom, he could sit there for 36 hours and not get off of his computer.
Wow.
And I do think that's a challenge for this generation coming up.
So it's so interesting that with the rapid advancement in technology, it's bringing a lot of new opportunities in
Yes.
terms of emerging technology, innovative way for writers to explore and showcase their creativity. The use of technology is very overwhelming, and
Mhm.
that actually it's affecting our children in a dramatic way. You're bringing up the thought about the importance of going back to the way we used to do things, having them go out, socialize, even go for a walk or maybe go meet with their friends and all that. Because you're right, some of our children can sit in front of the technology computer for a
Oh my
long
goodness.
time. So now, depending on who you talk to, that can be an issue. So now I'm split. so,
Well, I love it. I actually think it's a perfect segue into talking about it because it's just two things.
okay.
And I preach them all the time. I'm in a program right now for nutrition.
Okay.
And so I'll get a certification as a professional nutritionist
Okay.
around August or September if I could get myself to focus and finish up my course.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. And one of the reasons for that is because health is wealth. If you are not healthy, if your health fails, it's very hard to focus. It's very hard to concentrate. It's very hard to even consider anything else. I am so grateful that I am healthy, that I don't have 5-6 prescriptions of medication or anything like, you know what I mean? I'm very grateful for that. But the choices that you make, your balance, there's two things. And this is why I decided to go get the nutrition certificate. Balance and discipline. You don't really need a nutrition certificate to know that if you eat healthy, you're going to feel pretty good. If you balance out what you eat, you'll feel pretty good. And I don't need to be an expert to know that if I discipline myself and don't do too much sugar, alcohol, fats, right? Anybody can say this and you don't have to be an expert at it. But I wanted to back up some of that with the science of it, with really understanding it, because decade to decade, now that I am a seasoned person, I know that every choice per decade showed up about 10 years later. Approximately, not on the nose, but about 10 years later. And the only one you can't control is that first one. Your parents are controlling that. They feed you or they don't feed you, but as a kid, you're not usually feeding yourself. After that, you can control it. So with technology, it's the same thing. Balance and discipline. Same thing with food, balance and discipline. With health, balance and discipline. If you just go with that, are you really balanced if you're doing, take technology out, anything for a straight 36 hours? No.
So it is the same idea when it comes
to
technology. Okay, very good.
Are you really disciplined if you're doing anything for a straight 24 to 36 hours? Nope. You know why? Because you had to deny the need to go eat and relieve yourself to do whatever that thing was. So even if that thing was good for you to start with,
you're right.
It's now turned out to be a bad thing because you didn't have any discipline to stop yourself.
Absolutely.
You didn't have any discipline to control yourself. So I lead my life and I recommend to anyone, young people, old people, if you start with balance and discipline first, all the rest is going to fall into place. So let's discipline ourselves with technology, right? Especially emerging technology. I remember them talking about what could happen to your wrists. These young people, they're going to have issues because they were talking about they hold their phones a certain way. If you keep doing that, so then you see showing up to help people with that. So I don't have to hold my phone to talk to you. It's sitting on a stand. That's to keep me balanced so I don't end up with carpal tunnel because I've been holding my phone for 20 years, like in this position. So although I don't think we should be scared of AI, I don't think that we should worry about our kids doing it too much. Balance and discipline. If we led there, then you wouldn't have an issue anyway with anything that they do.
Absolutely. So really, I think that's a great advice to parents. The balance is what is most important. You have to strive. Parents have to recognize, have to pay attention to striking the balance. There's a time that they have to utilize the technology. Give them some time. Spend maybe about an hour on this technology. After that, I want you to do something else. Give them some chores. Do something rather than just fixated on technology at all time.
Right. And I am connected to my technology at the hip, literally. I don't feel guilty about that. I
Right,
do bring my phone with me. Sometimes I bring my tablet with me
right.
because I want to do a video,
Hmm.
but I am not lacking the enjoyment of the nature that I'm experiencing while I'm out. I'm a sun baby, man. I love the sun on my face, right? I'm not missing anything but the stress
Right,
and sometimes the anxiety I have by leaving my phone behind. Of course, there will be people who hear this and say, oh my goodness, she never puts her phone down. Then that's your judgment of the situation. I'm very balanced in that I'm taking my phone with me because I have children. I have a family. I want to make sure I'm not sitting here anxious and then running back to the house checking my phone because maybe my daughter needed me.
yeah,
I
sure.
don't leave my phone behind for so many reasons other than the fact that I'm addicted to technology. So people can say it or pose it any way they want. But if you really allow yourself to drop the judgment of how someone uses their technology and just worry about the balance and discipline of yourself,
Right.
then you might be less likely to even judge it. I can't judge you for putting yours down any more than I can judge you for keeping it in your pocket.
That is true. So
And
that's
most of my ideas come when I'm out in nature anyway. So I might grab my phone and go, hey, Siri, take a note. Let it say this and tell Dr. Ayo that. I don't want her to lose that idea. You know what I mean? So that's all
I
it is.
understand. So I have a couple of there's so much that I want to ask you. There's so much that we can talk about. And I've not really asked a lot of questions that deals with AI, which is something that I really want to get into. But I think we may have to reserve that for another show. But a couple of questions
Mhm.
that I want to ask you. One, actually, both of them deal with AI. So the first one, we're in the age of AI now. What role can AI play in helping students bridge the gaps between scientific writing and their STEM discipline?
Mhm.
What way can AI assist students and professionals with their writing task, such as research papers? And then the last question, many teachers are really concerned about AI in the classroom. They feel like it will make the students lazy, it will cause them to cheat. And that leads me to my next question. Are there any ethical consideration or challenges associated with the use of AI's creative writing, especially in STEM? And how can educators and professional address these concerns and responsibility?
The main thing that I think, and being an advocate and a fan of AI, I do not disregard how important it is for the younger children who are still of school age that are not college level, not like young adults, how important it is to control it. And again, that balance and discipline, right? Because if we don't, if you have a lazy student, AI will make them more lazy.
Mm.
That's not an assistant. That's a
Wow.
replacement. They can literally use AI. Oh my goodness. So many of these students, they're so smart. And so AI just helps them cheat a little.
Mm.
That's truthful. So it, the way it can help them, it's a time saver.
Mm.
That's my number one thing. It is a time saver. It can help you with some of that research. Do you remember encyclopedias? Am I
Mm.
dating
Oh,
myself?
yeah. I remember those.
Man, the
Sure.
encyclopedias that we used to have, my mom had to save and put our 7 Britannica encyclopedias on layaway.
Yeah.
And when we
Remember?
got them, the excitement, I remember them, they were blue and they had gold foil letters and they said encyclopedia. And we would go to them. If you wanted to know about Japan, you go to J.
You're aging yourself now.
I know that I am aging myself. I wish I had those set of encyclopedias now just for the authenticity of it, to look at my bookshelf and go, wow, like encyclopedias, right? It's like an antique thing.
Right.
The fact that you can call up, and I'm not going to say, hey, SIRI, because then my phone is going to jump and she's going to say, how can I help you? The fact that you don't even have to type into Google anymore if you don't want to.
Isn't that amazing?
That's what's amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that I can ask audio
Yeah.
or type into Chat GPT
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
use my audio on my device to speak to Chat GPT while I'm driving, and it
Right.
spits out an answer that I can
Right.
read when I get home.
Right.
Now the update, I didn't even know how to use this before. It might not be part of the update. It will allow me to share what I've researched with you.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
didn't even know how to use that before. I just learned that it says share chat. And I was like,
Wow.
what's that? So I
Wow.
press the upper left-hand corner and I can put in your email
Wow.
or I could put in your cell phone. So I could say, hey, Dr. Ayo, I did that homework. Here you go. Now, what it's doing is, so that's for the student. That's both going at it from the negative perspective where the student is being lazy, but also the positive perspective where a student is literally just using it for research because research is necessary in school.
Absolutely.
So whether you're reading it, Googling it, you have to source your research. You should
Absolutely.
you should be sourcing the chat with GPT or the audio or spatial, wherever you used something in AI, you should be sourcing it and using it as part of your paper. I got this from this source.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, AI is so good. Chat GPT is so good. A lazy student is, he just gave me, hey, research, that's the whole paper. And then they want to replace it.
Mm.
That's not a good thing. So on the back end of that statement, it's going to make teachers do a little more work.
Mm. Yeah.
Until they learn what their sources are
Yeah.
to check the same thing as you do. There's a way to check papers. It has been for years to check for plagiarism. There's all kinds of sources. And I'm sure the schools are looking at this. You're going to have to check that out and make sure it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Our writer's guidelines at the top of writingandtechnology.com, our writer's guidelines that we send to the writers, there's a paragraph and it says, writers, please note this. We do not accept, we discourage complete AI written, Chat GPT written sources, articles. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. Don't cut and paste a Chat GPT or any AI article to me. Don't do it. We discourage it. We encourage it. Then it says, we encourage you to use it as an assistant or research tool as support for your article. Do not remove your voice from your work. It's going to be salt and pepper. And the world is not black and white like that. The world's got wonderful, magnificent colors and they come from your voice.
Yeah.
Your unique voice. Chat GPT cannot replace that.
Absolutely. So I'm glad that you mentioned guiding students on how to use AI as to assist. I like to say collaborator, right?
Yes, I love the collaboration.
So how will they source it? So how will you encourage students to source that?
I think we have to get the teachers. It's from the teachers.
Okay.
I don't think it's coming from the parents. I think it is coming from the teachers because in the classroom is where the teacher is saying, hey, you guys, okay, here's the assignment. We've got a paper or you've got this, or I want you to go to AI or I want you to go to Chat GPT. I think they should make it part of the curriculum.
Right.
It's here.
Yeah.
And it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
So
right.
to run in fear of it, and there's this fear mongering that happens in the world, media does it. The reality is it's here. Y'all not going to talk to the kids about it because they going to use it. So why wouldn't we just, let's bring it in and let's give them the parameters. Yeah. This is where you can, this is where you can't. And if you get caught doing this, that's cheating. You got to give the guidelines. That's the ethics of it. If I don't give you guidelines, then how can I say you're being unethical? Don't I need to know as a child, a 14-year-old or 13 or 15-year-old? Yeah. Don't I need to know what my guidelines are? How do I know I'm cheating if you didn't tell me I couldn't do it? I can say that you should have known, but honestly, my common sense may not be your common sense.
Yeah.
Guidelines, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I like
the teachers and the administrators and the principals and the educators. Why not? Yeah. Why don't they be the ones to say, and I'm sure this is actually happening.
Yeah, actually, yes, it is happening. I know at my school, it is happening. And recently I did wrote on LinkedIn That was several months ago when ChatGPT became very popular because it was of concern to me because I know the power of ChatGPT since 2022, I believe. So I wanted to know if there was something like turning.com that I can put my students' paper into. So I'll be happy to say that there was something that came into my mail. I have not explored it yet, but there is something compatible to turning.com that you can use that can help teachers identify whether the paper was done by
Right.
the AI or
Yeah.
by students. But I think that
That's our due diligence, right? As
yeah, it's
parents,
just go
educators,
ahead.
teachers, administrators,
Yes.
we have to do the work.
Yeah. So but I like one encouraging thing is I like everything that you said about students that are not lazy, using that technology effectively. And how do you utilize that effectively? You utilize that effectively by looking at the AI or ChatGPT as a assistant, like an assistant, or maybe like
Mhm.
something that you can utilize to do research.
Yes.
One thing that I will like to recommend to everyone, and because I think that these are best practices,
Mhm.
you can write your paper, but I think one of the most important things, the thought, I like everything that you said, that humanity that has to be, your voice has to be in there. But you
Right.
can also utilize ChatGPT as a way to help you. Maybe you're not a good writer, right? Which I am not. So a lot of times, one of the things that I
I'm
do,
sorry to interrupt, but what did you just say? You're not
uh,
what? Did you
no,
just say that you're not a
no,
good writer?
well,
I
I
read your writing.
and that is the reason why I remember I gave one of my documents to you to go through because I
And
know
I
that
was like, what is
I
he talking about? He's a good writer. I barely did anything. Like all of us need some cleanup. Once we write, we're our own self-critic. We're the worst on
yeah,
ourselves.
but I think that utilizing the AI as a way
Mhm.
to achieve because AI has ability to look at a lot of data.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
getting those data and going through that and incorporating it as part of your writing, depending on your thesis, whatever you're writing. But having the AI write it for you, I think that ethically that is not correct. But
And I will tell you this, when you get experienced at using, I really encourage teachers to
yes,
pop some topics and paragraphs. I encourage anyone to contact me. I'd be happy to help. It's not going to
okay,
cost them anything
okay,
to learn how to use Chat GPT
mm,
or one of the other like AI tools. But I recommend that one because that's the one that's popular, right?
yeah,
That's the one that young people and people who are like trying to expand in creative writing, they're using it.
yep, yep,
And I've been played. I've been played. That's why I said we got to put this to the front. And if you don't use it, the reason why I'm encouraging them to use it is whether you're anti AI or pro AI, it doesn't matter. It's going to help you. You're educating yourself on something your students are using.
yep,
So it's would you hand out a curriculum and
mm,
assign a textbook that you're not familiar with? Of course not.
mhm,
Of
mhm,
course not. So if the textbook for the class was Chat GPT 101, wouldn't you be familiar with the book?
it's true.
I promise you the kids are using it. So if they get familiar with it, they will not get played because
Yeah,
they will get familiar with the nuances
yeah,
and the tones of Chat GPT. Chat GPT uses a certain tone. And after you've been using it for a couple of months and somebody
yeah,
sends you something, you go,
mm,
hey,
yeah,
you feel like, wow, I've been getting played all this time. Now I recognize it.
right,
You can just see it.
right,
So if you use it as an assistant, as a little
right,
editor, and then you continue to keep yourself in it, oh, it can help smooth out your writing. It can give you
absolutely,
some ideas,
yes,
but
yes,
it doesn't, it just cannot replace the human voice. I don't care what anybody says. I'm
yeah,
just going to stand in firm disagreement. I've had this conversation. It's,
right.
oh, but it starts to learn you. Yeah, but did it know I stubbed my toe when I was walking down that street that I was writing about?
No, it does not.
Did it know
No
that that
one's
dog that I was describing, the dog that was so pretty,
right.
did it know that dog almost bit me on the ankle and it was all I
Mm,
could get away from it? No, it didn't
right,
know that.
right, Right.
It doesn't know these little bitty things about me that I'm thinking and that I'm feeling. And we never take that out of our writing.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's that thing that I'm saying, man, I hope that the teachers, I understand. I really get it. It's not a lack of understanding. It's just we're not really agreeing, but I understand, not because I understand it. I just don't agree.
Yeah. And guess what? And guess
You
what?
know?
And guess what, Denise? And that is why you're here with your writing and technology. That is why you're an expert. And I would like to encourage all of our audience to look you up. I would like to encourage the district school to look you up, to literally look you up, because we have a duty teaching our young people to encourage the young people in the BIPOC community how to take advantage of this technology, incorporate it into their writing activity. That will actually enhance their creative writing, right?
Yes.
But again, doing it effectively, there is an effective way of doing it, and there is an ineffective way of doing it. And that is the reason why the onus is on the educators, making sure that you equip other educators on how to teach their students how to effectively use ChatGPT and the AI, whether it is in creative writing or
Mm-hmm.
in other aspects of activities that teachers like to utilize within their classroom.
One more
Well,
point,
go ahead.
really
Go ahead.
quick point to that, Dr. Ayo.
Yes.
There is also, you said, a correct way, non-correct way. There is an ethical way and an unethical way to
Yes.
use it. And deep inside most adults, when something ain't right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what
It
I
is
mean?
true. It is
The
true.
kids might not know. They might just feel like, listen, I'm going to use this as a shortcut if it wasn't right, blah, blah, blah. They may not quite know yet because they're not as developed emotionally as we are.
Absolutely.
They haven't even had a chance yet to make the mistakes we've made. And some of them know, and they're just going to go that route. I have an
Right.
article coming out when we launch writing and technology early August, first week of August, it's coming
Excellent.
out, right?
Excellent. Excellent.
And it's said, and I'm really rough around the edges from law enforcement.
Okay.
So I'm still learning to be a little more diplomatic with some of the stuff I say. But I was like supposed to be a part of this panel. And I said, if you wasn't lazy yesterday, you ain't going to be lazy tomorrow because of Chat GPT.
You're
And they
right.
were like, did you have to say it like that? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, it's a true statement.
Yeah.
GPT is not going to make me lazy.
Mm-mm.
That's what I was saying.
Right.
If you were lazy before it,
Right.
you're going to still be lazy and you're going to try
Absolutely.
to go some shortcut, unethical way.
Right.
And I'm sorry, but those of us who love it and use it will see you.
Yeah. Yep. It's true.
It's that simple. And
It's-
I don't know how else to say it because it comes from that law enforcement disciplinary place where it's, I see you.
Right.
Trying to clean that up and be like, hey, we're going to recognize that you've used Chat GPT. And I need to learn how to say it more diplomatically, but that's the truth. It's like, you see me.
Yeah.
I just want to stop being lazy. Just
Right.
stop. I love all the things I'm learning about AI and how the
Right.
students can use it and how we're starting to learn how a limited community, like where our little shop, we have a little, very humble little computer shop in
Right.
Lagos. You're talking about a really limited community. This is the beauty of Africa. You've
Right.
got this really limited community that doesn't even have a basics of electricity all the time. And you take a VR headset and you introduce some AR stuff over there. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, the eyes going, it's like, you're not going to do this.
Yeah.
You're talking to you. You're not talking to them.
Right.
I'm just bringing the tools. I'm bringing and I'm saying, listen, I don't just want to introduce you to this. I want you to be able to create something for yourself that turns
Absolutely.
into cash flow. Why? Because
Right.
that's going to help you make your life. And then they tell me what they can do.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, look, I'm not even an expert in it. I just brought the tools because I have the resources here.
Yeah.
You're telling me what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the amazing part.
Yeah. I really like that you brought that thought back to sharing your experience starting a business in Africa, right? Opening a computer store where students, just like a cafe that you
Mhm.
have, that people can just come And I would like to encourage every Africans in diaspora to follow the same footstep. We've talked about a lot of stuff today. And I would like to have another show, another episode with you, because I want to really talk about the AI and utilizing it, especially as it pertains to our students, our children in the BIPOC community. Because one of the biggest challenges we have is lack of knowledge. We're always behind the eight ball, and we need to be in the front of the eight ball, right? Or we need to be the movers, right? And that is the reason why this kind of conversation is really important. Any last words that you want to share with our audience before we end this episode?
I could go on and on because I just want to share that I really love where we are as a community, not because I don't recognize that we have so much further to go. We have some real challenges in the United States. I can't even believe some of the things that are happening. And to that point, I saw your article about the decision about affirmative action.
Oh, yeah.
Other show, whole nother. I didn't even have words because I hadn't seen that news yet. So I just put the little emoji with the shock, like, because I hadn't seen that yet. Make no mistake, it's not from ignorance to or not seeing that we have some serious challenges as people of color in the United States. There are so many places where we're going backwards. It does not mean that the world, though, you have to choose where you're coming from. And I'm just choosing to come from a place of opportunity and optimism that we are such a powerful community, such a powerful people. When we collaborate and we have these kind of conversations, there just is not anything we can't do. That's where I'm coming from. And I just want to be part of that change, part of that growth. And I promise you, if I can't do it here in the US, I'm out. I'm going to be over there.
I love it. Raise the roof. That's the attitude. That's what I'm
doing. Like, we're one of those people. You could take that U.S. passport, man, and you could go somewhere else.
There you go. There you go. That's the point.
Why not?
Oh, man. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for that. That's a beautiful way to end this show for today.
And thank you so much for the invitation to the show. And I can't wait to talk more about food and your sauce.
No problem.
That. I want to talk about your sauce.
Got it. Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for gracing the In Touch, I think, STEAM Career Podcast. STEAM is vital to our community because STEAM is important to the health, economy, and key to sustainability of innovation across all industry. As this field of STEAM continues to evolve, this podcast will connect with men and women who are champions of STEAM education to engage with the BIPOC community. If you like this program and what I am doing, please feel free to support me. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.